Today, I'd like to talk about the messages that we all get that some people are aware of, some people aren't. You can be, you don't have to know that you're getting messages, but you are. So I was raised Catholic, so that's my frame of reference and how I would understand when I was growing up the concept of guardian angels is that everyone has. They used to teach us, at least in my education, I was taught that everybody had a guardian angel. And a guardian angel is an angelic being that is always around you, or that at least, I don't know that they presented it as though they were always around, but certainly they would be there when you needed them most. Like they might, protect you from dangers. They might comfort you. They didn't give a lot of details about it, but they gave an impression, at least that I came away with. I always thought that was, a cool idea. And later, throughout my adult years, as I started learning about different things, I came to understand that there are a lot of different traditions and religions that teach about otherworldly beings that are available to help us, or that some people might describe it that you might have a variety of guides, and that you might have sometimes you might have a guide who is somebody that you knew in life who has passed on to the other side, and that they may come around and guide you. A lot of people will pray to people that they have lost, people in their lives they've lost, parents, siblings, children, grandparents, and have a sense that those prayers are answered, or that those that they're getting, messages from beyond. And a lot of people go to readings to get that kind of information. Before I go into my new understanding, I want to talk for a minute about how it relates to the Great Unfolding in particular, because quite some time ago, I used to do a workshop. One of the workshops that I used to do was the difference between intuition and being psychic. Because people would want to go get readings, and they would get, there's all kinds of ways that you can get readings, and that basically is theoretically, because it depends entirely on the person who's reading. It is a human intermediary who can translate for you what they're seeing around you in your line, in your life's path. And they are, depending on the kind of reading, it can be a psychic reading, or it can be an intuitive reading, or it can be both. And a key difference to my understanding is that when you're speaking about a psychic phenomenon, psychic reading or psychic phenomenon, you're talking about things that we are able to perceive, we as human beings can perceive outside the realm of the visible and audible and sensory perspective that most humans can perceive. So a psychic might be able to see auras. They might be, you know, it feels to me like it's more of a sensory thing. So they may look at you and they may see things around you, things that are meaningful to them, symbols and things. They'll maybe hear things. Some people will hold a piece of an object of yours and they'll be able to pick up things off of that. So those are all ways that someone can have a extrasensory kind of sort of sensory experience. I'm not describing it right yet, but let me get to that as I describe a little bit more about intuition. So intuition is what I would call that inner knowing that we all have. I mean, psychic capabilities really are available to anyone. It's just that some people more easily can go into that realm, and most people who have psychic abilities, it's in one sense or another. So, for example, we only have a visual, we have a very narrow bandwidth of what we can see visually, the typical human. But there are things that are outside of that, things that vibrate lower and higher frequencies that exist, but we just can't perceive them. We know of them: ultraviolet light, radiation. Those are the opposite ends of the spectrum of the lower and lower vibration and higher vibration. And it's pretty extensive. Those are just a couple of them on the outer edges. We can't see ultraviolet light. We can't see radiation waves, but they exist. They're outside of the bandwidth of what we can perceive with our eyes. But then again, there are people who have visual capability that extends beyond the typical common human perception. So, and often that means using a lot more of your side vision, your soft focus. So there are ways you can cultivate that. But the point is, you could have a wider bandwidth, and then you might be able to see subtle energy. You might be able to see things that vibrate at just a slightly higher frequency than our typical visual spectrum. And all unembodied energy is vibrating at a higher or lower frequency than what we can see. So, same thing with auditory. Some people can hear things that are outside the normal human range. Some people can feel things that go beyond their senses, merge. If you talk about synesthesia, that's where people can have a merging of a sense of smell and color, visual and sensory. So there's a lot of different ways. There's a lot to that whole phenomenon. But when we talk about intuition, we're generally talking about our own inner voice and that inner knowing. Okay, so I would differentiate between these two concepts, as one is a perception, an outer perception of things that you're experiencing, and one is an inner perception of things that you're experiencing. That inner knowing is what some people will call your subconscious. Your conscious and subconscious mind are coming from within you, right? We think of our brain, we think of it's all coming from our brain. We can visualize that. We don't understand how, but as they learn more and more about the brain, they realize it's just electrical pulses and currents. Well, it's vibration. It is vibration. Everything is. And so when we are aware, when we have awareness, when we have an inner sense of knowing, these are all things that we can kind of feel inside of us. Your fight or flight instinct, right? It's driven by maybe your primitive brain, but it's a feeling that you have. It's like in you. You imagine that kind of feeling around thoughts. In other words, you can feel the feeling in your body when you have fight or flight, but imagine the feeling in your body, if you could distill it to how your body feels when you feel and experience different emotions. You have also a feeling in your body. And a lot of that might come from thought. You have a thought about something and it gives you a certain feeling. So those kinds of connections are coming from our inner world, our inner self. And when you have a heightened sense of intuition, and again, everyone has intuition and everyone has a capacity to strengthen their intuition, but your intuition is like your, it's your ability to make a direct connection to your higher source, to that which connects you to the earth plane. So some people talk about souls in the Catholic religion. There's all different ways that people will talk about it, but more and more, even on a scientific level, they're starting to understand that we literally do have subtle bodies, a subtle energy field that extends beyond our physical human body. We are so much more than the physical body, and it is all the vibrational components that make us up that are outside the realm of what we can see. So our physical body is just the three-dimensional part that we can see. Someone who has visual psychic ability can sometimes see some of those subtle energies. People who see auras, people who see your vibrance, they're looking at some of the vibrations that are outside of your physical body. And so your intuition is that voice that you can connect with, that's like your inner knowing. And in a culture like ours, we were not raised, most of us were not raised to exactly listen to that. We were raised to pick and choose certain things that we can listen to. You know, if something's scary and the hair goes up on the back of our neck or something. But we aren't really taught to cultivate that inner knowing. And the pathway to cultivate it is to know that it exists. And so, put simply, if you want to cultivate it, one of the best ways to cultivate it is to start noticing when it shows up and just see it. Because when you allow it to exist, you start to see it more and more and more. So I used to do things like, you know, and you really, this is why meditation, this is why a daily practice is important, because if you can refine your physical and emotional body, you'll be more able to sense when you're getting I want to say an urge, an inner directed urge, or there's a better word for it, but I can't think of it right now. Compelling kind of a thing. Like, so let's say you're you are driving down the road, and the place that you're going to, you are going to have to eventually turn left, but normally you wouldn't turn left, you know, you'd go straight for a couple more miles. But you're driving along and all of a sudden you just have this really simple little thought that comes, like, what if I turn left here? And there's no reason not to turn left other than it just wasn't the direction you were going to go. There's no particular danger in turning left. It's just a matter of a different way to get there. So it's a simple thing to say, well, maybe I'll just follow that. Maybe I'll just go left because I had this thought. And how I look at it is, there might be something there for me. There might be something I'm going to see. There might be an experience I'm going to have. There might be, I'm going to get to my destination more quickly or more slowly. Like, it's a way that you allow yourself to follow the current that you are in, that is all set up perfectly for you, that if you follow the current, if we were always following the current, life would be so much more beautiful and smooth and wonderful. But we get these urges all the time, and we very often shut them down because it doesn't make any sense, or there's no need, or, you know, our thinking mind goes right over that, just rolls right over it. So one of the ways to cultivate that is to start following it when you get it. And I'm not saying, you know, not if it tells you crazy stuff that's dangerous. But generally it's going to be small things, you know, pick up your keys, you know, go, you know, call your mom. I don't know. There's just so many different things, but you get a little sense of something and you just follow it, and you just say, I don't know that there's a particular reason why I need to do this, but I've got a feeling of doing it, so I'm going to do it. And as you do that, you get more and more and more of those feelings, those senses. And why it matters is because when you're talking about unfolding into your greatest self, a big part of that is listening to your own guidance, your own super consciousness, your own higher self, your own inner knower. You know, call it whatever you want, but there is a part of you that knows beyond, that gets really literally cut back, trimmed down, and shut up by all of our thinking, all of our rationalizing, and all of the mess that's going on in our heads all the time. Again, that's why meditation is important. That's why doing practices that calm your mind and center you are important, because we need more time outside of being influenced by all of this thinking that goes on, because all of that thinking is not the sensing. It's just thinking. It's just thinking. It's a whole different level, and it isn't the highest. The highest level is your sensing and your feeling. And so when you are just going about your day, moving along on your path through life, I say, notice what's presented. That is in my world, that means not just see who calls you on the phone, or, you know, physically, literally what happens right in front of you. But it also means, to me, noticing what presents itself in the form of a feeling or a sense that compels you to do a thing. And when something like that comes up, you could be sitting on the couch reading a book, and you get all of a sudden a thought, go check your phone. Or you might get a thought, go take a walk. You might get a thought, take a nap. You know, whatever the thought is. That's something that comes up, that's in front of you, that's presented to you, just as much as the physical things that come up. So you got to look at all of them. But as you refine your intuition, that beautiful capacity to hear your inner self, to clearly understand what's being put in front of you, that will take you places. Following that will put you right where you need to be for, I would call it magic. It's not really magic. I call it magic because I love the sound of magical things happening. I'm a dreamer, so I love that feeling. But the truth of it is, it's not magic. It's just, it is the meaning of life. It's like, we are here with this, we've got this package, this amazing package of who we are. This incredible beingness that includes a body, that includes a mind, and includes consciousness, and includes a vast higher, greater self, that thing that is well beyond this physical human body. And it is a vibration, and it is connected to all the other vibrations around us, like the guides that are around that are helping us. And as we develop and heighten our capacity to have that inner knower communicating with us, we allow for all the beautiful things to start coming forward. It always brings beautiful things to you. I could write volumes on all the magical things that have happened in my life that are just mind-boggling, and it's because I live my life and have continued to live my life more and more in that flow. That's what you would call that, just being in the flow. You don't effort, you kind of go with what comes up. So so in the great unfolding process that I talk about, you're looking for what comes up, and then you decide, you take an action, you make a choice. So if you get that urging, you're going to make a choice, and your choice might be, I don't want to follow it right now. You don't have to, right? It's a choice. It's not right or wrong. I'm suggesting that the more you follow it, the more the more satisfaction you're going to have, and the bigger your world is going to get. But there's no rush, there's no timing. It's just, you make the choice, and you can choose to follow it. You can choose not to. You can choose something completely different. Doesn't matter. You just make a choice, and then you take the action that would go along with that, like taking a turn, like going straight, like sitting and reading on the couch and not getting up and going checking your phone, that might have had some special message that you needed to see, that if you saw it at that particular moment in time, you might take another action, and you're going to end up, having a destiny meeting with somebody. Who knows, right? You have to have a lot of, I feel like a childlike delight in approaching life this way, because you find yourself often, at least I do, I feel I get a little bit giddy or a little bit amused at myself. I just laugh, and I'll say, oh, I guess we're doing this. Oh, I guess we're doing that. Sometimes the more you practice it, the more you just start doing it. Sometimes you don't even stop to make that choice. You just, you're going along, and you're so connected with your source that you just are already on target. When you get that feeling of going this way, you go this way. You get the feeling of picking up the phone, you pick up the phone. You get the feeling of going to a particular place that you just had a thought about, and you just go. And you're just wide-eyed like a little kid. Where is it? Where is my present? Where is my gift? Where is this thing? It could be that you're just going to see something beautiful. It could be you're going to experience something that's going to inspire you. Who knows? But the point is, you're open. You're not attached to an outcome. You're just open to what's going to happen. And you have as much joy as you can as you let the next thing unfold. So the thing about the messages that I wanted to say, as far as where they're coming from. So I've talked about our inner knowing, which is so important. And there are people who can perceive energy outside of us, and that just helps us understand it's there. But there is also there are a lot of studies. We're getting better and better at it. The studying of subtle energy, and also the allowing of higher consciousness to come through human beings. So there's a lot of channeled information that has come through, and that is where so unlike the psychic and intuition, this is where an individual connects so openly with source that that they are able to allow one or a group of their guide energies to speak through them. And it's not like they literally get in your body, but you get into a place that's so receptive that you are able to understand what they mean, and you're able to speak the words. So there are some people who are really good channels like that. I mentioned the Abraham consciousness that comes through Esther Hicks, for example. And there's a lot of them where they're saying very similar things because it's it's like this is what the universe is. But each group, there might be slightly different leaning, because whatever energies are around you, whatever energies are supporting your human existence, it's like you've got a team, really. But it isn't like you have people standing around you. These are vibrational energies. And it's, we can't see them because of the level of the vibration, but also if we could, they wouldn't look like people standing around us, unless maybe it's a past relative that's temporarily, hanging out with us, with their concept of their bodies, that we would be able to see. But some of these angelic, or I use angelic because of my Catholic upbringing. There's all different ways to describe them. There's different energies. They're all light beings. They are helping take you forward. They're helping. They're the ones that you get the messages from. Sometimes some people have had some experiences where I've had several mystical experiences where I maybe you would think I would have just died, but something weird happened, and like there was like some weird little glitch, and all of a sudden things were different. Like you think, was that a time warp? What just happened? I've had a few of those. And I think a lot of people have had them. And it's not always so obvious as an experience where you're about to meet death and it's avoided. It can also be really subtle things, but where you sometimes, that voice gets really loud, that's like moving you this way or that way. That's like sometimes those messages coming through. But they're and I talked about my my epiphany when I became a vegetarian, and I heard that voice over here and had the mind picture. That was one of my guides, literally. It wasn't my own higher self, is above me, right? This was an external voice. This was one of my guides, which I have gotten confirmation of since then. But the point is, if you understand that, you actually, I think people would be so much more comforted and joyful if they really understood the nature of the guides that are around you, the energy that is you, and how that relates to the universe. Because it isn't scary. I know for some people it seems scary because they're afraid of demons and dark energies. That is all fear-based, lower vibrational frequencies. And that's not that's not our birthright. Our birthright is all of these beautiful emotions, these beautiful emotional states that we are capable of and that we can cultivate just by turning away from all those darker thoughts. And the energy that is around us, that is supporting us, if you think about it like you have your own team, it's like you have a team, right? The more you cultivate your inner knowing and your vibration, the more you do meditation and other practices like chakra tuning, things that help raise your vibration on a more the more you do it, it's like building knowledge. It's like you build this awareness, and little by little you are more often during the day, right? You're still gonna fall down. You're still gonna get sucked into dark fears. You're still gonna have that happen sometimes, but you're gonna be better and better at pulling yourself out of it. But another byproduct of that is that as you tune as you raise your awareness and your consciousness and your vibration, guided by your higher emotional states, you will more and more be able to get direct communication from your guides and from your higher self. And when you can do that, you now are tapped into your very own, all-knowing life. It's crazy, but you can get answers to the most mundane things or the most important things. You can get guidance for your own self, about, what's a good thing for you to eat, or, what's a good thing for you to put your attention into right now. I mean, it's phenomenal, and I will talk more about that in other videos. But the main thing I just want to say through this video is to say, and I know a lot of people either don't believe in guides or don't believe in getting messages. I would love to just open people's minds up a little bit to that possibility, so that you would play with the idea of what it would mean if you don't believe in it, or if you think it feels far-fetched. Play with the idea just to start noticing. If you see anything, if you sense anything and you notice any differences, just in thinking that it might exist. And if you know and you understand that it exists, then I would suggest that you really cultivate your intuitive knowing by following those impulses. That's the word, following the impulses that you get, by gently moving, gently following impulses, and letting your own higher self take you where you need to go. And then as you're cultivating that, even more exciting, really lock into a daily practice. First thing in the morning is ideal, between 5 and 6 o'clock. I can't tell you why, other than I am told that is the time, that between 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning, and it doesn't even matter about daylight savings time. There's something about that particular time that is the best time to spend doing whatever practice you want to do, that's going to give you more clarity and more calm and more, tuned. I mean, I'm going to be doing more videos on that, and a lot of different things that can help with that. But I'm just throwing it out there to sort of pique curiosity, or for anyone who to look at where you are on that spectrum and how can you take that just a little bit further. Hopefully that's not too much information, but if you found it helpful, if you got anything out of this video, I certainly hope you will like my video, like my channel, my YouTube channel, The Great Unfolding, my Facebook page, The Great Unfolding, and of course, share it.